I'm very self-aware, and I like to watch the patterns within myself, all part of my personal development. And so I did notice the pattern very soon of just the negative self-talk that came out of such a high self point. Like I had reached like maximum confidence while I was on 75 hard, and it had nothing to do with what my body looked like, or it had nothing to do with that kind of progress. It was just like, look at me, I'm doing the thing. And so afterwards, when those 5 things, and it was now my turn to continue on the path by myself, and it wasn't that I was a complete failure at everything. It was just I knew that I could function at a higher pace because I had, and then I wasn't there in that current state. And so not very good for my perfectionist brain, and having this constant need for everything to be more. And
Right.
I'm definitely I need it to be more kind of person. And so that was really a struggle for me.
So let's talk about what happened in the midst of the journey, because one of the struggles I probably heard from you the most about, this is fun doing this with my best friend and having all of the intimate knowledge of how things went down behind the scenes. You get the little glorious on-camera version of Brittany, and then you get the real version of Brittany. And one of the things that really frustrated you, and I want you to speak to it, was the frustration of the scale, because you lost a modicum of weight at the very beginning, as most people do when they start a journey. And then your scale just stayed stuck. What made you feel like you needed to quantify your 75 hard journey by stepping on a scale? Because Andy didn't have that in his protocol. Andy Frisella says take pictures. And I think he was way ahead of the curve of trying to ward off some of the psychological stuff. And yet Brittany, in her grand wisdom from within, said, I'm going to weigh and piss myself off every day.
Every single day I would piss myself off. And so I set myself up for that constant battle, but I was going to finish the program no matter what. And so going into it, I was like, I'm going to do this no matter what the scale says. But that didn't mean I was absolutely just disgusted every single day. So I started at, arguably like my highest weight since the beginning of my first weight loss journey back in 2018. And I didn't get back up to that size. I was still 40 pounds less than when I started that one. But, I'd gained some weight back from my lowest. And so when I started, the first 10 days, I lost 8 pounds. I was so excited. Yay, yay. That's really good, And I knew it wouldn't stay like that. But then at that point, zilch. I mean, absolutely nothing. The scale would just do the 1 pound up, 1 pound down. Bounce, just the bounce. If you track your weight every day, you follow the trends. Just that aggravating stall, just frustration of nothing moving. And like I was literally giving it everything I'd ever given in my life.
And yet you were also posting pictures, and you were sending me pictures in between, and I'm going, Brittany,
yeah,
how much weight you've lost on the scale? Do you see the difference in those pictures? And you're like, yeah, but I want to see it on the scale. And I'm like, why? I can physically see it with my eyes. It's like it was stark from day 1 to day 75, super stark. Even though the total amount of weight loss may not have been impressive if you said the number. Who cares? You look at that first picture and that last picture, you lost a lot of belly fat.
Yeah. So, and just for reference, and again, I shouldn't have done this to myself. So the first 10 days, I lost 8 pounds. The whole rest of the time, I only lost 2 more.
Right.
Like my total pounds lost. No, I take that back. I'm doing the math wrong. I think 13 total. So 5 more pounds. I'm so sorry. So 5 more pounds.
But in 75 days, you probably had an expectation it would be a whole hell of a lot more than 13 pounds.
Yeah, 13 pounds, and literally gave it my all. I mean, I was getting up at the butt crack of dawn and going to the gym, and I was running, and I was doing all the things, following a diet. Like, this is the most consistent I had ever been in my life. And so to not see consistent change in that measurement really messed with my brain so much. But yes, obviously through progress pictures, I could see the difference. I did notice the difference there, but my brain was like, I see it, but this measuring device says otherwise, so we're going to go with that because I'm a numbers person.
You and I had many a discussion of that stupid lying liar that lies, as you know I like to call the scale, the gravity detecting device. I say all kind of things that make it sound horrible because it is horrible.
Yeah.
I want to just look that person in the eye that created the kick them in the nuts because they like made so many of us so frustrated over the years, all at the holy altar of what this gravity detecting device has to say. But you did. I think you're in a good place now with the scale. You still probably weigh and like to weigh and everything, but it's not near. Oh, you don't anymore. It worked. It worked. All the preaching at you finally worked.
Yeah, and so it's funny how, my closest friend and then my husband, who I am very close with, were telling me the same thing. And it literally took this other person, my dad. My dad made a comment. I was talking to him about my frustration with the scale and everything that had happened on 75 hard, and he's like, but Brittany, I literally see the muscle. And I was like, oh, really? You do? Oh, okay. I don't know why I could accept that as truth from my dad, but not my friend. I guess it's like, well, Jimmy and Chris have to tell me.
All three love you in our own way. And so it took your dad, which you have a great relationship with now. You, in the midst of this, didn't always have a great relationship. And that also was another kind of happy experience out of this. Hey, whatever it takes.
Yeah, so, and I wanted to bring that up. So I believe that doing 75 hard led me back to a relationship with my dad. I'm like, I know that's a lot to put on a program, but when you have a list of things to do and you don't have to do them, even if they're hard, even if you're in pain, even if even if these things are happening, you still have to do the thing. I got to a point where I hadn't spoke to my dad in 6 months. It was bad. We hadn't spoke in 6 months, and I literally got to the point where I was just like, I have to, I have to do this. And I think it was like right before I started 75 hard that we started talking, like literally right before. And then I started 75 hard, and through the program, it just kept pushing me to like, I've got to make this relationship something.
And you made a discovery about your dad when you were at the beginning of this, because one of the first things he told you was what? Tell that story about, I don't think you can.
So I was very early on, and so my dad had come over to my house, and I remember very vividly, he was standing at my island at my house, and he was like, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to finish it. And he just said it so casual, like he just said it, and I was just like, okay, fine then. And so several weeks go by, and I think I'm at like day 50. I'm like, I'm going to get this done. I was getting closer to the end. And I was like, see, I told you I can do it. He's like, yeah, I know. I was like, what do you mean? You told me I couldn't do it. He said, I only told that to you because you're just like me. When somebody tells you to do something, you ain't going to do it no matter what. If somebody tells you to do something. But if somebody tells you you can't do it, you're going to do everything in your power to do it. And I was like, God dang, you psychological torture person. But he was right. He was really right when it came to that.
And it was so cool. Like, there's so many of those kind of stories out of your 75 hard. And I'm not saying, guys, that you will go on a program like 75 hard and suddenly all these kind of things happen in your life, but they sure did for Brittany, and good things that now you carry out of it. And look, it wasn't all great. You come out of this and you were gung-ho about maybe trying the different phases of other parts of Andy's program. And what did you decide? What happened?
Yeah, so after you do 75 hard the first days, there's another program that includes 75 hard called Live Hard. And it's basically a year-long program where you do 75 hard and then 3 phases. Phase 1 is the same rules plus 3 more tasks. Then you must take a 30-day break between doing anything. Then you start phase 2, which you're just going back to a 30-day version of 75 hard.
Buddy, I gotta tell y'all about something. This fancy little drink right here. This only has 3 ingredients: water, ice, and Element. I'm so excited to be partnered with Element right now for the One Step Deeper podcast. Oh my God, let me tell you. Look at all these gorgeous electrolytes. They have so many delicious flavors, but my absolute favorite, and the one you saw me sipping on, was the citrus one, because let me tell you. It's like sipping on a margarita. So good. So if you're interested in trying these amazing electrolytes for yourself, you can go to drinklmnt.com/Jimmy for your free sample there. No, seriously, it's a free sample. All you have to do is pay the shipping. You got to try these, I'm telling you. So good.
So guys, you might notice we're both wearing different clothes. We did not change clothes during the break, I promise you. Instagram decides to cut off my video. So Brittany, welcome back. We're like a week after we recorded, and you were right in the middle of a really important part of your story with 75 Hard, of where you were describing phase 3 and then like why you decided not to go into the phases. So pick up from there.
Okay, so I discussed the other 2 phases. Phase 3 is basically all the same thing as the 75 hard, all the other rules, but you add in even more tasks to do, and you can't start it until 30 days to the day, 30 days before the last day of your first 75 hard. So that would mean I would end on September 30th of this year.
Right.
Yes, next year. So I decided this was not the time for me. I decided that, and like up until probably after I finished 75 hard, I was like, I'm doing the phases. We're doing this. Okay, we're going to go all the way. We're going to do the Live Hard program. We're going to do this, Brittany. And afterwards, when I started to really be aware of myself and aware of where I was mentally, I was like, I'm not ready for the phases this round of 75 hard. That didn't mean I never revisit them or do them at another time, but it wasn't the year for me to attack them.
Well, look where you came from last year. We've already talked about it earlier in the interview, where you almost died last year. You weren't in a great place. You wanted to do this right about the time that you ended up having all your issues. So the fact that you have come back so strongly from that experience to the point that you would even do 75 hard, I don't know many people that would have their guts basically split open, it all hanging out on the deathbed. I know I'm kind of like dramatizing to make the point, hyperbolizing a little bit too, but you aren't in a good place. And even today, you're in a little bit of pain from those stitches. So it's like, it's still 2 years later, you're still dealing with the ramifications of this. And yet you still did 75 hard. I think they need to have a little asterisk next to your 75 hard, because I don't know many people in your situation that just not that long ago, year and a half-ish ago, laid up in a hospital and didn't know if you could live. The fact that you did 75 hard in September, which is right at like an hour, a year and a half later, not an hour and a half later, that would be an accomplishment if you did it an hour and a half. But a year and a half later, and yes, it was hard, as we've been describing. Duh, it's called 75 hard. And you did it, and you accomplished it. I don't think you have anything to prove to yourself or anyone else.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of that. I had this, like, there's almost this push of, well, you did 75 hard, so you kind of have to do the other ones. And the other ones aren't necessarily any harder. But it was just a matter of, and I had to, like, listen, I'm really hard on myself, where I ask myself the hard question of, am I giving myself an excuse to not do these things because I don't want to, or do I have a legitimate reason to pass on doing the phases this time? And I've seen a lot of people do the program and stop after 75 hard. But the problem with myself, as I described earlier, was like, I have this problem where it's never good enough.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make myself be happy, satisfied, and good enough with finishing 75 hard. Come on, that's a crazy accomplishment. And for me to get to the end of it going, well, I still not done because I still got all these other things, like, I have to stop that in myself. And so being aware of where my brain was already at that point, is like, I'm not ready mentally in my personal development journey. I'm not ready to attack those tasks just yet. I will revisit them. I am excited to revisit them at a later date. I'm already thinking, like, when am I doing round 2 of 75 hard? When am I doing this? I am looking forward to it.
That was where I was just about ready to go. I know you well enough, as we're best friends. I know you well enough. 75 hard is in your next 6 months. You're going to do another one.
Yeah, I'm like trying to think, am I going to start like right after I get back from Christmas, or am I going to wait till like beginning of the year? I don't want the cliche start on January 1st, but who cares? I'll start whenever I need to.